you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to Hammercast.
And welcome into Hammercast Football, part of the Hammercast Network. I am David Stidham, and I have a friend of mine, and everybody knows and loves him. It's Chris Robin. It's Christopher. I saw his tweet today. It's all kinds of things. Beastie, Detroit, Beastie, Christopher. I just love to call him Beastie. But anyway, man, good to see you, brother. How's it going?
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. And that tweet was just, it's a fun joking. And again,
it was awesome.
If we're all work and no play here, it's going to get old really fast. And I want to take this minute. I didn't say nothing when we were chatting because I wanted to save it, for the live portion of this thing. I just want to say thank you. Last season was unbelievably fantastic. We connected every week, and you let me bring bottom of the barrel to everybody right through your broadcast, once or twice a week. And you were instrumental in the growth of bottom of the barrel. And I thank you so much for that. And so when you asked me to come on here, absolutely, I do anything for you, but I do, I have to have some accountability. I completely blanked on Sunday. I was exhausted. I was in bed by like 7:30 or 8 o'clock because of the draft. So I wasn't ignoring you. It was a mistake. I disconnected my phone, computer. I had nothing going on. So thank you for re-inviting me to the AFC portion of this broadcast. And I feel good about it. I can make it right now. So David, thank you so much. You're an absolutely stellar human being. And here we are.
Well, thanks, and I'll just say it right now here and on the air. We want you back for Bottom of the Barrel. If you want to come back and do that and do the same show, it would be an honor to have you guys back. I mean, everybody loved it. It was fun. Absolutely. We had a good time.
It was easy. It was just one of those points of the week where I've kind of told my process thousands of times on where Bottom of the Barrel came from, how I write it, and what I do. And to be fair with you, not to sound like an egotistical jerk, but doing the research and writing the article just comes very easy to me. And so, the exhausting part is running a promotional on a different show every week, or I'm talking about it. That's exhausting. But when we got together, it was easy. It was like, you just a few guys in the garage smoking cigars, or You're out on the deck, having a beer on a sunny morning, afternoon, whatever. And it was just easy. So I looked forward to it all last season. And yes, I'm going to take you up on that. And I look forward to this coming season.
Awesome, man. I love it. Anyway, it's been a hell of a year, hell of a draft. And last Sunday night, obviously we did the NFC. We really got chatty. And so it took a while. And so that's why we split it up. We were going to try to do the whole thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, guys, time out. Let's do this. Let's do this second half. So let's talk AFC. And I've I'll be honest, I only watched the first night. I had all kinds of family stuff. My son graduated high school, and we had all that fun stuff to do, banquets and all picnics and all that kind of stuff. But I've been catching up, and obviously I'm in a couple of drafts right now. But I want to start right here at the top with Baltimore Ravens. And really jump into that. And when we do this show, I really want to key on mostly the offensive players, but there's a lot of defensive players that if we want to talk about and talk about what kind of impact they can have on the team, both fantasy-wise and NFL-wise, by all means, let's jump in and do that. But let's jump right into Rashad Bateman, man. What do you think about the landing spot for this guy, and what do you think is going to happen with him in that team? And Lamar Jackson, is he going to get him the ball?
Well, I'm glad you asked this. Bateman, of all the rookies to have been drafted and where they go, Bateman, to me personally, from what I've noticed, has been the most polarizing. I think that Bateman is going to be, I don't want to say overdrafted, but Bateman is going to, he's now with the draft spot to Baltimore, he's now going to sneak into the middle of the first round. And I'll say that again, like he was kind of a late first round. And then as the months went by, right before draft time, you could have gotten Bateman in your rookie drafts at 205. 295, 210 max, right? But now with the draft spot, the draft capital, as they say, that Baltimore spent on him, all you have to do is look around in social media. People are in love with him. They're so starved for a wide receiver one in Baltimore, not the team per se, but us as writers and fans and analysts, that we're starved for a wide receiver one in Baltimore. Are we sure that Bateman is going to be that kid? If you notice, from high school to college to the NFL, he steadily shrunk. In high school, he was 6'4". In college, he was 6'2". And then on his pro day, he was only 6 feet even here. So he kept shrinking. I don't know. It's just a fun kind of thing, because it's like wrestling. Everybody kind of exaggerates the numbers until it's like, boom, official in your face here. But Bateman going to Baltimore, I love it. But I don't think he's someone I'm going to be able to acquire in rookie drafts. I think it's better suited to, let someone else draft him. And then when the shine wears off, you go after him. I think in the case of Bateman going there, that makes Devin Duvernay almost obsolete, because I have my list here.
Oh, wow.
And Tylan Wallace was drafted there, or undrafted free agent. As you know, I make all my list. I got 75 of my top rookies. So Tylan Wallace going there is good as well. So in some cases, if you want to repeat this or play this back, I think Hollywood Brown becomes expendable too in that offense. If Bateman can really catch on, Tylan Wallace, I know he's the undrafted free agent, and again, realistically, will Hollywood be, expendable, cut, or released? Absolutely not. But I'm just trying to bring something different to the discussion, because it's all, I love this guy, he's great. And it's all sunshine and rainbows. But I could see a case where, Hollywood kind of gets buried in that lineup with Lamar Jackson. We know what he does. He kind of caps, a kid like J.K. Dobbins' upside in the red zone. I know that's like low-hanging fruit. Everybody talks about that. But I could see a case where Lamar Jackson really, falls in love with Bateman. The coaching staff really falls in love with Bateman. They probably already are. And Hollywood was already that kind of boomer bust kid, that boomer bust player. And as you know, I play DFS. So do you. We had to pick and choose our spots with Hollywood. In a way, no disrespect, Hollywood was relegated to like a punt play week to week. In DFS formats, you surely can't trust him. He's not a set it and forget it kind of player. So I could see a case here. And again, call me crazy, but just off the top of my mind, the draft selection of Bateman is going to push Hollywood Brown down another rung or two. And I don't think he had a rung or two to lose at this point.
Wow. That's a strong take, considering, where they took Hollywood Brown and in how much they have invested in him. So I like that take. It's going to be a fun camp to watch and see how fast Bateman can pick it up. Do you like Tylan Wallace?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Like personally speaking, the Lions were, I believe they were on the clock in the 4th round, and that's when they decided to draft Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then they traded with Cleveland, I believe, and they had back-to-back picks. And I said, this is it. The Lions are really going to address wide receiver here. Tylan Wallace was on the clock, and they drafted Amon-Ra, and they went in another direction. I was very sure that the Lions were going to go boom, boom, back-to-back wide receivers there, and it would have been fantastic to get Amon-Ra and Tylan Wallace, but it didn't happen. So Baltimore grabs Tylan Wallace as a UDFA, if I'm not mistaken, and now he goes into that offense. And without a doubt, they're going to get this kid involved, right? He's, if you look at this draft class, David, I know I missed the NFC version of it, but, we talk about, it wasn't a very super strong kind of draft for offensive talent, defensive talent as well. Like last season, there was a clear cut, defensive end and like like a game changing. Yeah, a game-changing defensive end. And there's a slew of very talented ones, but there isn't like an all-pro, all-star, gotta-have-him kind of player. So Tylan Wallace, it was shocking to me. There were several of them. Timon Terry, Sage Surratt went to the Lions, and then Tylan Wallace as well were undrafted, but they picked up on a team very early on here. So Devin Duvernay, again, he's buried. Probably will never see the light of day. I would imagine, I guess my original point was a lot of these wide receivers, these late round kids or these undrafted free agents, they're very good at one or two things. Like they're very gimmicky to me, kind of like a Curtis Samuel in a way. Like if you can get Jalen Waddle on the outside in space and that's it. He doesn't do, he's not a complete wide receiver, but that those are very hard to come by here. But if this coaching staff, which I have full faith in them, if they can get Wallace hammered in and to do one or two things very well, don't ask the world of him, he's going to be great. He's going to catch on. And that depth chart is probably going to read Bateman, Hollywood, and then Tylan Wallace. And the other wide receivers are, null and void. Practice squad, they get cut, picked up elsewhere. But that would be my depth chart for the Baltimore Ravens wide receivers.
Wow, that's awesome. Overall, I thought they did a nice job. And overall, I like what they did on defense as well, especially with Odafe Owe from Penn State. And so overall, I give them about a B+. I don't know how your grade on them overall is.
That's a great question. See, so I'm not showing off, but I have, this was my top 75 offensive rookies before the draft. And here's my top 75 rookies post draft. Here, I can tweet these out, just a photo. And then here's my IDP rookies. I have 25 of them now. Again, that just goes to show you that it's not strong. My camera's blurry. I don't know why, but I have it all broken down to 5 linebackers, 5 safeties, and I have yet to give a grade to any team. I've just never done that, but I'm with you. I'll back you up. Baltimore is it's a B+, let's say.
Good deal. Let's jump to Buffalo. This was an interesting draft for them. I absolutely love the fact that, I love the fact that they didn't go after any marquee offensive skill position players. They got a couple of linemen. They got one receiver in the 6th round, Ramondre Stevenson. But boy, did they get a couple of winners with Rousseau and Basham, didn't they? A couple of edge guys up front, 1st and 2nd round.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at it now. Rousseau is, a kid that I guess he was a 1st round talent, like higher than he was already drafted in the 1st round. But I guess there was a few cases like this where these kids fell, like that Owosso linebacker from Notre Dame fell. He had heart issues and, or used to have heart issues, and nobody, mentioned it until after the draft here. But what they did was fantastic. Things fell their way, and you have to give it up to good scouting. So again, very solid defensive talents to add to what they have going on now.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of they got the studs. They got Allen. I'm really excited about Gabriel Davis next year. You and I were both high on him, and we saw him develop into quite a good player. I think he's going to be very impactful based on what happened in this draft and their belief in him. And so props up to him. I hope he has a great season in 2021. And
yes. Overall, shout out to Gabe Davis. He was a darling of in DFS formats this past season.
Yeah, we loved him. And so anyway, overall, I give them a B just because they addressed their needs on that defense. And I think they're going to be tough to beat if some of those guys really pan out in the AFC East. But the whole AFC East is getting better.
And it's kind of like, with Baltimore, right? And even Tampa Bay. I know that was, last week or Sunday, but it's like the rich get richer. Like that's the old saying. That's the old adage here, and a Tampa Bay team and even a Buffalo team. Again, Tampa Bay, they brought back every starter on both sides of the ball. So to me, they had 0 holes, right? So if you look at Buffalo, the same could be said for them. The one glaring hole that I see from a fantasy football perspective is the running back. So now we're still stuck with what's his name, Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, which is fine because again, this is a pass first team. I mean,
and we know Josh Allen's the running back.
Yeah. And so, so Buffalo is the rich get richer, and is the question that I have, and so many other people do, that they lost out in the AFC championship game. They didn't get to the Super Bowl, but they're still up and coming. Is this the season where they flip the light switch and it's just Kansas City or Buffalo every season out of the AFC for what? The next 5 years, the next 7 years, whatever you feel comfortable, prognosticating there. And again, I think Buffalo has what it takes this season to win, to beat Kansas City in the playoffs or the AFC championship game. And then again, next season might be Kansas City. So you see like the turmoil, not the turmoil, but the competitive nature of these teams. So that would be fantastic.
Yes, it would, and I think both those guys are definitely going to be in play. You can't argue with what Kansas City did with their offensive line, though, and so they really bolstered what their weakness was, and so it's going to be fun to watch them battle it out. Cool. Cincinnati Bengals, one of my favorite players in the entire draft. I've loved him for 2 seasons. Jamar Chase, LSU. You know what LSU does? They produce Pro Bowl receivers. He was dominant when he was with Joe Burrow, and they had Justin Jefferson and CEH on that team when he did it. And so he is 6 foot, 207, 4'3", 840. His vertical's insane, and he catches everything in his radius. And so I love him. What do you? Is he worth the number 4 pick? What is your thoughts on Jamar Chase?
Well, my thoughts on Jamar Chase was, at the time we're all watching, this is the top 10. They were in the top 10. So I think everybody in the country was tuned in at this time. And on a live broadcast, I saw Cincinnati, grab Jamar Chase, and you go, oh my God, the Lions might have a chance here to grab Penny Sewell. So again, that was my initial reaction. This isn't a Lions show. This isn't an NFC
North
I get it.
Show. I knew you were thinking that.
Yeah. And Jamar Chase going there is unbelievable. Everybody thought, what is Cincinnati doing? Joe Burrow just is coming off a gruesome knee injury. He's still young. He's going to be okay. But again, this is why, GMs get paid more than we do. The GMs know more than we do, because anybody, any football fan worth a damn knew that this is what you do, right? You can load up on offensive tackles or offensive linemen, guards, in the second round, in the third round, and that are going to be, fantastic. They're still going to help your offensive line, and they're going to protect Joe Burrow. You can't find a Jamar Chase in the second round. You can't find Jamar Chase out of the top 10. So I love what they did. They grabbed the stud. They grabbed like an all-world kind of talent now, and then they kind of figure out how to stack up their offensive line. So it was a good move. And Jamar Chase going there now, if you look, I have the Cincinnati depth chart in front of me. So now you got Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and that's about it. Auden Tate is, a memory. Trenton Irwin they have there, Scotty Washington, and that's about it. So it's a 3-headed monster there. Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd here. So again, the first question is, oh my God, what do I do with my Tyler Boyd shares? Oh my God, does this mean T. Higgins is dead? Absolutely not. If you look at what Joe Burrow has done in his collegiate career, and even in his first rookie season, what he did play, he loves to have 3 wide receiver sets. He is at his best when there's 3, maybe 4 pass catching options down the field, all strewn about on the outfield. He has elite vision. He can get the ball where he needs to go. The only factor is he needs time to throw it. Cincinnati's going to be okay. They know that he needs time. We're not the GM of a football team. They know, trust me, people, Cincinnati knows what they're doing, and things are going to be okay. So I love Joe Burrow's long-term prospects, and I love all 3 of these guys, Boyd, Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And the only thing the selection of Jamar Chase did was kind of cheapen T. Higgins' price a little bit, because everyone's freaked out. So right now is the time to grab Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins, because their value, it's not like bottom of the barrel. It's not low, but it's lower than it will ever be right now. So you have to kind of pounce on those value changes.
And this always brings me to that never-ending saga. And you and I both buy into this product, this point. Suckers are selling right now. Sharps are buying. And I'm buying Higgins, I'm buying Boyd, and I'm buying that offense. Yeah, sure, Joe Burrow has a connection, but this is the NFL, and all 3 of those guys are going to eat in that offense. And don't forget, Jackson Carman, who they picked up right there in the second round from Clemson, he's a badass offensive lineman, and they got a tackle. Plus, they addressed some things. So I think you're dead on right. I think it's going to be fun to watch them. I think they're going to be relevant, and it's going to be exciting. And so overall, I give them a B as well. They I just want to shout out.
I want to shout out the U of M running back Chris Evans. Cincinnati grabbed him in the late round, so that there's a role to be filled there behind Joe Mixon, because as you know, they let Giovanni Bernard go. I don't think Gio's been signed as of yet. But so Chris Evans is able to, if he can do what he does best, running back and pass protection, Chris Evans will see snaps on the field. So shout out to him and go blue.
He may be in a few of those bottom of the barrels.
Without a doubt. You're kidding yourself if you don't think I've already have notes for week 1 and week 2. Like as you know, I've told you a million times, when I write DFS stuff, I make up my own game scripts. I've already told you that. I think you're the one who brought it to my attention that, and at a certain point I run with it. So I've already have game scripts ahead for not game scripts per se, but OTAs and preseason, battles between players. So Chris Evans, look for him in week 1. We'll see what we got.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, let's get to the Cleveland Browns. They went heavy on defense on the first 2. Finally, in the 3rd round, they went and got Anthony Schwartz from Auburn. Not a big fan of this guy. I actually like Newsome and Owusu from Notre Dame and Northwestern, respectively. And I even like James Hudson, the offensive tackle from Cincinnati. And so I feel like they addressed a lot of their needs. They are already loaded, and Baker's going to have plenty of weapons with both Hunt and Chubb, of course, and Odell Beckham coming back. I just traded Odell Beckham, by the way. But overall, I think it was they did what they had to do. Nothing crazy, nothing stupid. They had a very positive. As a matter of fact, I'll give them an A, because they did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, and that's it. That people, especially in our position, who write fantasy content, or it's all DFS or it's all dynasty stuff, we always want like a shiny object on offense, running back, wide receiver, or a tight end. But a winning football team addresses what they need to do, and their defense only got better in this draft. We know what we have, we know what they have on offense, and they're going to be fantastic with Baker back there. If I'm not mistaken, they picked up his 5th-year option, so he's there. I would imagine that right now they're already working on some sort of long-term extension. When a team picks up a kid's 5th-year option, that's the season where they look to build some more long-term plans. These kids, look to build roots there. But Cleveland was an amazing draft. There was times in the 2nd round, even in the 1st round, where that Jeremiah Owasu linebacker, we're like, what the heck is going on? Why is this kid not being drafted? He's a 1st-round talent. And I kind of buried the lead to this one. But as I've said, he had heart issues in high school, something along those lines. Obviously, he's been given the clear. He's going to be fine. But that addition, where they got him, is unbelievably fantastic. And let's not forget, too, last year, Cleveland drafted Grant Delpit, stud safety, punch you in the mouth safety, but he missed all of the season with some sort of ankle or an Achilles injury. So Grant Delpit will be back, and this defense is going to be very good in a very competitive, in their division this coming season. So again, I actually like Anthony Schwartz. He's a speedster, and they aside from Landry and OBJ, what else do they have there in terms of catching the ball here? Hooper is their tight end, but they need that 3rd guy, Rashard Higgins. He was a fantastic kind of punt play in DFS circles. Absolutely. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, another Michigan kid, has what it takes. 6'4", tall, thin, strong. He can get the job done here. So, again, I don't think Anthony Schwartz, just comes into camp as the wide receiver 3. I think that's going to be a battle between Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones. And my ego tells me I'd like for DPJ to win that battle. But Anthony Schwartz will have to come in and put some work in. And I firmly believe Anthony Schwartz will have a role this season. And, again, off the top of my head, I could see Schwartz catching, 300-ish yards worth of passes, 2 or 3 touchdowns, nothing crazy. Not going to set the world on fire, but in 4th, 5th rounds of our rookie drafts, he's someone that you have to look. I mean, at that point, especially in this class, if you can get Schwartz in the 3rd round, then I would consider that a win, David.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what they did, and so good for them, and they'll find a way to use them, and Stefanski knows what he's doing, and so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Let's go to a team that had 10 draft picks. Let's go to Denver Broncos. Obviously, top 10 pick, number 9 overall. They take Patrick Surtain. They actually surprised everybody with that pick. He's a talented cornerback. Alabama got the pedigree, and but I remember watching a lot of film and watching a lot of games where he got totally just his ass burned by both Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And so that guy kind of shows you what he's up for. But I think he's going to be a really good pro, and I think he's going to do really well in Denver. But I'm really excited about that running back they got there in the second round, Javonte Williams. I think I think he's got what it takes, and I think that offensive scheme is going to be perfect for his style game. What's your thing on Javonte, and do you have any thoughts on Surtain?
Yeah, absolutely. So Denver's on the clock at, I believe they selected, where did they select? They selected, like 8th or 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
9th.
Yeah, 9th. So, at that point, Justin Fields was still on the clock. Carolina passed on him, and then bam, Denver's up. This is it. Fields fell into your lap after all this talk. Can Drew Lock hack it? Is he the guy? And Denver, as you know, they just added Teddy Bridgewater, and everyone thought, well, if Teddy B would be gone, I mean, that would be, but that didn't happen here. So they grabbed Surtain, and I love the selection. I think he's going to be good for a long time. But as we've seen, not too many, starting cornerbacks hit the ground running, and they're instantly good. If you look at what the Lions have done with Okuda, I think is how you say it. Yeah. Okuda, yeah, he struggled last year. He got burned in the first half of the season, and he found his legs, and he's going to be good. I think Surtain or J.C. Horn, guys like that, Caleb Farley, these were like the top 3, DBs.
Well, I mean, obviously last year we talked about it all year long. We put a lot of thought to our offensive receivers for DFS if they were playing cornerbacks, rookie cornerbacks.
Correct.
And when I play IDP fantasy football, I always I stream cornerbacks, and I usually take the rookies or the second year guys or the weak side rookies and in our cornerbacks, and that's who I go after because the quarterbacks know what the hell's up. They target them, and so he's gonna struggle a little bit, but he is gonna be a long-term great cornerback. But boy, Javonte Williams. Now I got a few big questions for you.
Sure.
Denver Broncos, who's gonna be their quarterback?
There's no way it's Teddy Bridgewater. I think they're going to give Drew Lock another shot here. If you noticed, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Lock struggled last season with injuries. Nothing like devastating, but there were some weeks.
It was bad. It was bad.
There were some weeks where he didn't play, he was unable to. Yeah, they let Hinton start a game. I think if I remember correctly, the wide receiver, practice squad kid, Kendall Hinton, that's his name. So Drew Lock, you can look at what they did in the draft to say that they're going to give Lock one last look here and to see what he's got. And again, with this receiving core that Denver has, there surely is no excuse now. And again, if you look, Denver also added Seth Williams, who is, as it stands now, he's my wide receiver 15, rookie wide receivers here. So that's a very, crowded wide receiver room, as people come to say. They call it rooms, but
back.
Yeah. So again, it's another embarrassment of riches for that position, for that wide receiver position. So, you have, let's go through them real quick. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. Let's not forget about him.
I love that guy. Noah Fant.
Yeah, Deshaun Hamilton, Noah Fant, and there was one other kid, Tim Patrick, who was a darling in DFS circles last season. But he's 27. I believe he's 28 by now. So a few of these guys are going to fall by the wayside here. But literally, Drew Lock has no excuse. It's almost the same thing as Daniel Jones in New York or Sam Darnold in Carolina, maybe even Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia here. So Drew Lock, it's now or never, buddy. And I can't tell you how excited I was when when Denver selected Javonte Williams. And call me crazy, but there was a moment in time before the draft where I had Javonte Williams as my rookie RB1, just a hard-nosed kid. He moves so quick up and down. Rarely does he get tackled. First contact never gets tackled. He bounces off tackles. If you look at some of his stuff and you dig deep into his analytics, there were times, he bounces off 2 or 3 tackles. You say, gets past the first tackler, first contact here. There was times where he averages being tackled on the 3rd or 4th, contact here. So he just gets off so many things. And, people are
reminiscent of Akers.
Yeah, and people are, they're freaked out because Melvin Gordon is there, and that's fine. Melvin Gordon, this is his last. I think it was a 2-year contract, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, this is it.
And they're going to run Melvin Gordon till the wheels fall off.
And it could happen this year.
David, I've said it a million times, and I know I've had to have said it on numerous broadcasts with you. I love Melvin Gordon. He's a great fantasy football running back. He's a great real life, running back. He can catch, he can get behind or in between the tackles here. So this was a move. It was a power move trying to set the organization up for next year season in the future. Melvin Gordon is 27, going to be 28, in the length of this coming season. So Javonte Williams here, I love the idea that he's not, they didn't draft this kid and say, I know it's a different position like Zach Wilson in New York. They're putting the entire hopes and dreams of a franchise and a city on one rookie. They're not doing that in Denver with Javonte Williams, a 2nd round selection. And they're saying, hey, you're going to get a ton of work, but you don't need to do everything. You can, on the job training, you can learn and grow and build on the season in real life game action. And they're setting him up for next season. He's going to be drafted. I'm telling you now, write it down, whatever you want to do. Have yet to say this or tweet this, but Javonte Williams will be a top 10 RB selection in fantasy drafts next season. I'm saying it now.
Wow. That's a good take. I like it. I like that take. And and also don't discount the fact that Quinn Miners from Wisconsin Whitewater, he's a badass lineman. And so that's going to help the cause even more. And so I think Denver did a really nice job. I was trying to set you up, and I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, a lot of people are speculating there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers may end up being a Bronco.
That would be unbelievable. And again, you set me up and I missed it, a swing and a miss. Because you know why? Because I don't know if you noticed today or watched it, but Adam Schefter kind of made the rounds on a few like Dan Patrick show was the big one. And, people were calling into account the validity of what Adam Schefter did with that tweet. And was it manufactured by Green Bay? Did Green Bay, lob up a meatball for media the day of the draft to kind of, play smoke and mirrors, or let's do this, let's do that. But realistically, I would love if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver for 2 reasons. He would be out of the NFC North. The Lions, he's been a thorn.
That's why I served you up.
He's been a thorn in the entire NFC North for so long, and especially the Detroit Lions. So him to get out of this division would be, you could breathe a sigh of relief. And then going to Denver, imagine how high that would elevate these wide receivers. He could make it all work. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, they would all be bona fide studs in that offense with Aaron Rodgers. We know I'm not going to talk about what Aaron Rodgers can do. He's a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner. He can drop the ball in a bucket from 80 yards if he had to. The accuracy is insane. I don't think I've ever seen accuracy like that from Aaron Rodgers. But if Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver, I'm not saying anything profound here, but it's a massive boost to everybody on that offense.
I agree. Good stuff. I'm excited to see what happens. I have a feeling he's still going to play for the Packers. Houston Texans, I don't want to spend more than 30 seconds on Houston Texans because it's just so bad. I am going to let you talk a little bit about Nico Collins, and I'll talk a little bit about Brevin Jordan, and we'll move on.
Sure. So Nico Collins coming out of Michigan, U of M, a big-bodied kid, 6'4". He does a few things really well, and that's all those things that you need a wide receiver to do. Tall, thin. He's put on some muscle mass. He runs routes very well, but that's the thing. He doesn't run very many routes. He only knows a few of them. And again, that's something that you can learn, that these coaches can teach him.
Right.
And again, why wasn't Nico a first round selection or a second round selection? It's because he was hindered by awful quarterback play in the length of his career at U of M. It was always a turnstile at quarterback there for him. So I expect big things out of Nico Collins. Again, I was bummed out as soon as they drafted him. I said, "Oh no, Nico! Of all the places to go, I mean, he's going to get wide receiver 1 reps right away."
Yeah, that's the thing, is he has nobody in the way.
So I expect big things out of Nico in a wasteland that is Houston. But again, garbage time can start right as in first quarter, garbage time can start. So I'm looking to grab Nico Collins in almost every draft that I'm in, because he's falling to the late second round, early third round.
I got him 3-6 yesterday.
That's fantastic. That's a win.
Yep. I got Terrence Marshall from LSU at like 2-8, and then 3-6. I picked up Nico Collins. And
those are wins
with those two guys.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. I was going to say something about Brevin Jordan. I know that Kevin Coleman, Du Bois, had him ranked really high and was talking him up for a year, and the guy just tanked his pro day, and he dropped all the way to damn near the end of the 5th round. And so, pick 147. I think he's better than – I think he plays better than what he performed in his pro day. And so I am – I'm taking a flyer on that guy in rookie drafts if he's there in the 4th round.
Some people aren't good. Like I'm horrible at taking tests. It screwed me in my undergraduate degree here. But some people are very bad at tests, and that's basically what your pro day is. That all your cards are on a table, and you are taking a test. And he didn't do well, but that's fine, because your pro day is your pro day. That's not real life. That's boom. Like, you have to get on the field in an actual NFL game, and Brevin Jordan's going to be fine. In my rookie ranks, Brevin is still my tight end 3.
Yeah, he's still 2 for me, but there was a really weak class outside of Pitts, and so,
Freiermuth to Pittsburgh. I'm sure.
Actually, you know what? He's Freiermuth. I'll take him over Brevin. You're right. I'm sorry, I missed that one. Yep. Okay, we're gonna move on to the Indianapolis Colts. Not a lot to talk about. They went after a couple of edge guys, and then they picked up Kylan Granson from SMU as a tight end. I don't even know why they picked Sam Ehlinger. He doesn't have the NFL arm. He's a big, tough guy. He's he did pretty good things at Texas, but he's just not an NFL quarterback. And they know this. And so I'm just, it was an okay draft for me. I actually don't like it too much, but they're loaded.
Kwity Paye was a nice selection to me personally, because of where he went. I mean, I said it time and time again, a month or two ago, when if you looked at the professionals, Mike Mocking, the guys on ESPN or Yahoo, any of those things, they had Kwity Paye as a top 10 selection. And I said, well, what am I missing? I watch almost all of the Michigan games. I know Kevin does too. And he's a very good NFL talent, a very good defensive end that gets pressure, but a top 10 selection, absolutely not. So if you look, I'm looking at my list now, Kwity Paye went, where did he go? I can't find. Oh, he went 21st to Indianapolis. That's perfect. A lot of people had him around 10, 15, somewhere in that range, which would have been too high for me. But to go to Indianapolis 15th is fantastic. And again, I'm saying it now. I talked about it last season a lot. Indianapolis is going to make some noise in the AFC this coming season. They're ready. They're ready to go now. And I firmly do believe that they're going to be, I could see them being right behind Kansas City and Buffalo here, and that's not even really off the wall for me to say that. So Jonathan Taylor back there, if Carson Wentz can get rid of the yips and get some confidence back, Pittman can step up. I mean, Indianapolis is going to be fantastic.
Yep, I agree with you. Really good stuff. I will say this: when I watched the film on Kwity Paye, he's got all the athletic ability. He's got the upside of. He reminds me of Danielle Hunter, because it took him a little bit to develop. I mean, Kwity had 11 and a half sacks in his 2 years in 38 games, which isn't a huge big deal, But I think they're going to turn that guy into a beast, and it may take a year or two, but I think he is a great pick.
And it's a perfect situation, too. They're not drafting him and saying, you are our defensive lineman one. That defense is already swarming and fast and fantastic. So he can be a rotational piece for now, and let him find his stride. Let him find his game in real life action. And then that's when you grab hold of that DE1 or that DL1 team there. So he's in a perfect situation to grow, learn, and become better.
Right. I just got reminded that I got Marshall at 2-4. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't know what it was. I don't pay attention to the numbers. I just know it was a second rounder. All right. Good stuff. I'm with you. Now let's get to one of the most anticipated drafts in a long, long time for this city, and that's Jacksonville. Obviously, I didn't know if they were going to take anybody outside of Clemson after round 2, but they went big. They got their boy T-Law. They followed that up with his Travis Etienne. Let's talk about those two guys. What are you thinking? Are they going to make a difference, or is their coach going to totally screw this thing up?
No, Urban Meyer is love him or hate him. Again, I'm in Michigan, a Big Ten guy. I can't stand Urban Meyer. He's just arrogant.
I know.
The ego on this guy. He thinks
and when the pressure's on, he quits and says he's hurt.
Yeah, or something happened and I have to go, right? But Urban Meyer, it's no surprise this guy can build a team. This guy, I called him kid. This in his 50s.
We know in college.
This guy has an eye for talent, and we know that. But it's kind of like when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, when the going gets tough, Urban just gets going. He just leaves here. So as it stands right now, his first draft as a NFL head coach was fantastic. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he was the first overall pick for almost 2 years, year and a half for sure.
Yeah, 2 years, and it was sure.
And it was shocking to see. I watched the draft live, and I wrote down every selection with a quick blurb here. And then they backed it up with Travis Etienne, 25th, which was people were scratching their heads a little bit. In some circles, people talked about Etienne was the worst selection of the draft because of where it was, like what pick it was and where he went. I don't think that you get a young kid in Trevor Lawrence who is already good to go. He's already shined and polished and ready to really create mayhem at the quarterback position. And then you say, you know what? We have the time, we have the capital in draft selections. Let's grab his safety blanket. They played together in college. They know each other very well. And the only thing that I was left saying was, now what do we do with James Robinson? Another kid who was unbelievably great. He was a league winner for a lot of us last season. So now what happened?
He had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns, and he had 49 catches and 344 more yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that guy was money.
Yeah. And there were times where he literally did not come off the field. And there were, without a doubt, written and logged games where no other running back even touched the ball the entire game. There was about 3 or 4 of those last season. Everybody hold your horses. James Robinson is going to be fine. He's going to work in conjunction with Travis Etienne. And again, personally, in my ranks, I got kind of raked over the coals here because I had, given at the post draft, I had Etienne as like my RB3 or my RB4, right? There's just a few, and we'll get into that maybe another time. Najee Harris, Michael Carter, I like more than him. And so I had Etienne at 3, I believe. And again, given the situation, James Robinson isn't going to go away. They did this for a reason. In today's day and age of the NFL, every team has that 1-2 punch. Long gone are the days of Derrick Henry is really bucking the trend here, where you can get 30 targets and touches in a game. That really doesn't happen anymore. So in terms of Jacksonville's overall draft, it was a home run to me. They did exactly what they intended to do. They didn't go into this draft saying they didn't have a logged game plan where they need defense really bad. They needed everything, and they addressed the offense big time. And now Trevor Lawrence is playing there with Shark, Chenault, and everything's coming up roses for Jacksonville on the offensive side of the ball. And their defense is good enough to be okay. If Jacksonville comes together like we all think they're going to do, they could wind up averaging 28 to 31 points a game on the offensive side of the ball. So that's very good for the defensive side of things. They're not expected to shut out teams. They're not expected to only give up 10 points. So they're going to be okay. They're going to be learning and growing together, which is what I like. All these pieces of this puzzle are young, they're talented, and they're all going to learn and grow and get better together. So in maybe 2 or 3 seasons from now, after another draft or two, this team is going to be strong.
All right. So my big question for you on Jacksonville, and then we're going to move on to the Chiefs. Are you buying or selling DJ Chark, and is he going to be the number 1 receiver?
Well, that's a great question. So I'm not going to take the easy way out and say I'm going to hold DJ Chark. Well, realistically, I think I'm going to sell DJ Chark, and I'll tell you why. So in this offense, we don't know what's what. We don't know up from down. We don't know black from white. We don't know anything. If you look at, you mentioned Kansas City, we know what we're getting from Kansas City. We know who the studs are and what's to happen here. On Jacksonville, we don't know that. Realistically, can Visca Chenault become their wide receiver 1? Absolutely. Could Travis Etienne become a stud PPR running back? Absolutely. And after we got burned last season on DJ Chark. So again, I don't know what to expect. So right now, given all the confidence and all the hype around DJ Chark, I'm going to sell because again, I firmly believe that his value probably won't get any higher than it is now. Will I get burned and if he goes off in the first few weeks of the season? Yeah, but right now I don't have a crystal ball, but right now DJ Chark shares are through the roof because people are already presumptive and they already think they know what's going to go on. Trevor Lawrence is going to be an all-pro his first season.
Right.
He's going to throw 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. So use that to your advantage. Sell Chark, and if it hurts your feelings or you get bummed out, you can always add him throughout the season. But I'm selling Chark right now.
I'm with you. That's why I asked you, because I had a feeling you were going to say exactly that. And once again, I want to remind our audience who's watching, if they're kind of new to Dynasty or fantasy football, know when to buy, know when to hold, know when to sell, and when the hype is high, that's when you get your value. Yeah. And so anyway,
go listen to that Kenny Rodgers song and then report back.
That's right.
All you need to know.
Yeah, just play the music in the background while I'm talking.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna go right to Kansas City. I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on because they didn't have a lot of guys to talk about, but I'm more excited. Now, when I say more excited, I'm not a Kansas City fan, but when they were able to, right before, in the offseason, add a Joe Thuney, a Kyle Long, and Orlando Brown, plus they got Creed Humphrey, that really good center, and they added 4 parts to that line, and they already had a couple of good parts, and so I think that was huge for them, and they gave up their first round pick, number 32, to make that happen, and you know what, good for them. I think they did really well, and I'll give them a B plus, even though they didn't need to take anybody.
They did all their moving and shaking before the draft, and then if you look
like Cleveland, they did what they had to do.
Yeah, at one we glanced over, but 58th overall, Nick Bolton, a linebacker, he's in my top 8 overall in terms of IDP rookies, and then boom, they back it up with a couple selections later and draft Creed Humphrey, which was a fantastic selection. And as I said, I was laying on the couch watching the second and third round of the draft. I wrote everything down with a little blurb. In Kansas City, their first pick of the draft was 58th overall. They sold everything that they needed to sell. They did their moving and shaking, and then they just popped into the draft and said hello, grabbed Bolton and Creed Humphrey. I mean, 2 selections, very fairly close together, and both were home runs. So again, I think their draft was an A plus, because you have to look at, although they didn't use their first round selections, they sold that away, but I look at that as that was part of their 2021 draft. So I look at Kansas City as another team, kind of like Buffalo or Tampa Bay, that the rich got richer, grabbing Nick Bolton there, and then Creed Humphrey, who was a favorite of mine going in for the Lions, because we all know they needed offensive lineman help, and Creed Humphrey was there ripe for the picking. So Kansas City had a fantastic week or week or two leading up to the draft, and then boom, they show up and say, you know what, we're going to draft Bolton and Creed Humphrey, and here we are. So they're going to make another strong push at a Super Bowl here this season, and I love it.
Yeah, they're gonna keep Patrick Mahomes upright, and that's gonna make a big difference. That guy was running for his life, and and they still made it to the Super Bowl. I think they were humbled a little bit by Tampa. I think they're gonna be hungry. I think they're gonna work hard. I think it could be scary for the league with what they've done. So watch out. Okay, we're gonna jump right to the Vegas Raiders. I'm still. I love saying Vegas. I love Vegas Raider. I think that's a really cool. Yeah. What are you thinking here, man? I do hate it as much as I do, and everybody else does. Do you see any upside here? What the hell did they do?
I don't hate it. I'm just saying Mike Mayock and Gruden, they love to reach. I mean, they drafted Alex Leatherwood, stud offensive lineman out of Alabama, 17th overall. Everything I did, research and everything that I've read, Alex Leatherwood was a supreme offensive lineman talent, but he wasn't a first round kind of talent. All the mocks I did, all the mocks I saw the professionals do early on in the second round, kind of like, Miami grabbed Javon Holland there at 35 in Vegas. They could have got him at the mid to late 30s overall, like 30, 37, 38 if they wanted to, but they didn't do that. They said, you know what, we want him and we're going to draft him. So how could you, I'm a smart man, but I'm not like a GM professional head coach in the NFL smart. So they saw a chance and they wanted him and they grabbed him. So kudos to them. I love Alex Leatherwood. Nothing wrong with that selection. And the rest of the draft, I'll be honest with you here, I don't really know too much of what else they did with the draft. That's how kind of, I know that they did. They made a trade and they had 79th and 80th overall. I don't know what they did with those selections because, you kind of lose interest after you're doing it for, 24/7, for 3-4 months at a time here. But Leatherwood at 17, the player is a great selection. To put a player like him in your offensive line was a great decision. Drafting him where you did wasn't awful. And as Drew said, Detroit, Drew, shout out to you. He reached on Farrell last year. They grabbed, if I'm not mistaken, they had 4 selections in between the first round and the second round. And I think they drafted like 3 or 4 Clemson kids in their draft last season. And again, we still don't know what they have with them. I don't know what they have with them, but drafting Leatherwood, 17th overall, who am I to judge? Kid's an awesome offensive lineman talent, a little early in my book, but it's not going to sink your franchise.
Bill Parcells, remember when he made the comment, to stay the same is to regress. And nearly 4 years into John Gruden's 10-year, $100 million agreement, the Raiders have stayed the same each and every season. Yeah. This was written by John Daigle, John. And that's I just find that compelling. It's just
after 4 years, you should have been able to move the needle, not drastically from empty to like full or max, but just a little bit. That's all you're looking for, and they're like in purgatory right now, which is odd. 4 years in, look at what Miami has done. Look at what Washington has done. They've gotten unbelievably better in a 3 to 4 year span with their drafts and the way they've built. And bam, Washington is going to be a force. Miami, after this draft class, they're ready to win now. They had back-to-back seasons loaded with draft picks, and bam, they're ready to win now. And Vegas was kind of in the same vein over the last few years with their selections. And what did they piss their selections away? I wouldn't say that, but they didn't do anything that like jumps off the page.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally agreeing with you. I'm anxious to see what happens with them. I have a feeling they may go backwards this year. That division's too tough. I mean, and
again, if that happens, if they go back just a little bit, that'd be devastating to their organization because they're linked to Gruden like that. They have a couple other contracts that are not. I mean, I don't want to say that the contracts aren't that good, but if they don't make any movement this season, this is going to set them back. Let's realistically 7 or 10 years, and that's a lifetime in terms of professional sports.
I mean, look what the Chargers did. I mean, look at you got Kansas City. I mean, that conference is tough, man.
Yeah,
and they all got better and I don't see what the Raiders did making them better. Yeah, obviously that Leatherwood is a good player, but boy, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think, and stop me if you think I'm crazy here, but I firmly believe that the Chargers they've lapped Vegas now. I mean, I'm with you. They grabbed Slater. Where did they grab Slater? Oh, 13th, and then they backed it up with Asante Samuel, 47th. So I mean, the Chargers are definitely better than the Raiders at this moment in time. I mean, they have what looks to be an All-Pro young quarterback for a long time. So you can see what two really good drafts will do. A little bit of luck to go your way. Herbert kind of, fell into their lap last season. It was shocking where he went, but he won the Rookie of the Year. I mean, Herbert is going to be a stud for a very long time. And that's the kind of moves you need to make. That all that goes up to the GM and the coaching staff and the brass in the front office. So the Chargers, if you're a Chargers fan, you can breathe a sigh of relief. You're on your way. Very tough division, but you're holding your own. You're making your way. So I'm excited to see what the Chargers can do this coming season.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. A lot of people aren't talking about this at all because he remember when you said what's his name? Had a terrible quarterback play, the receiver, and he couldn't get anything going because he was a product of the offense, right? Yeah, Josh Palmer at Tennessee is a stud, and nobody knows who he is. He's 6'1", he's 210. He had a gaggle of quarterbacks that didn't know anything. He's got the ideal frame and speed, 4.5 40. A 4.5 40 for a 6'1", 210 guy. I like it. And he has an opportunity to go in there and surprise some folks. I'm telling you. And nobody's talking about that guy. I think that was a good pick, and they took him in the third round. They know a lot more than we do. Let's
absolutely. If the casual fan, I mean, I was watching that, and social media, everything is instant. You can instant reactions, and you go from there. People are like, they were scratching their heads. They drafted Josh Palmer over the likes of Amon-Ra or Sage Surratt, or any of these guys. And they're like, what do they know that we don't know? And all that, they know a lot more than we do. And that's just a product of your scouting process. These guys that are behind the scenes that are really the heart and soul of a football team. They're out there 365 at, Friday night in Tennessee, watching this kid play in high school, in college. So I love that idea. That means that this franchise really trusts the behind the scenes people in their scouting staff. So Josh Palmer is real, not to be rude to him or anything, but he's a nobody. Nobody's thinking about him. So I'm saying, if you're anybody that's watching this now or will watch this, don't be afraid to draft Josh Palmer in the late second round, early third round, mid third round. When you get to the mid third round, that's stealing here. So Josh Palmer will have a role.
Yes, Man, I'm so glad you brought that. I'm glad you talked about that because, man, people need to know. That's why we're here. I think he's going to be that guy that everybody can say, "Dadgum, man, Chargers, man, they hit another one."
Yeah, look at what they have. Look at what they have, and like last season, Jalen Guyton, right? A nobody, North Texas. He's a speedster, and how many games last year did he? He only had 1 or 2 catches a game, but you could count him in for a 70+ yard reception last season, at least one of those, right? And he's only going to grow and get better. And when you have Guyton or Palmer, who are they're good talents. I mean, they're professional wide receivers, but when you have a talent like what's his name? Herbert. When you have a talent like Herbert, he elevates everybody else in the offense. It's kind of like anybody that plays on Kansas City on the offensive side of the ball, you want him. You just want a piece of that pie. And I'm telling you right now, the Chargers are the same way. You want any and all pieces of the Chargers offense. Donald Parham Jr. at tight end, because Herbert is that good. He's going to make all this offensive talent that much better because he's unbelievably fantastic.
I love it, man. And you know what? Yeah, I'm feeling for the Raiders, man. They're going to have a tough time.
They've had a ton of chances, and they keep, pissing it away.
Well, let's go to another team that's on the rise, and I'm anxious to hear your opinion on the Miami Dolphins. I absolutely like Jalen Waddle a lot. Worried a little bit about his durability, but what are your thoughts on what the Dolphins did and what they've done in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so here, Miami, if you look at 6, they drafted Jalen Waddle, which wasn't that shocking. We knew what they were looking to do is, draft, a wide receiver. We thought maybe it was going to be Penny Sewell. Cincinnati passed, and then bam, he was right there for Miami, but they went heavy offense with Jalen Waddle. And then later on in the first round, let me bring up my notes here. I got them right here. We thought maybe Miami, I had them pegged for drafting Javonte Williams. I'm going to tell you right now, 18th overall, they grabbed Jalen Phillips, the young kid, defensive end, who is fantastic. So again, the Miami Dolphins zigged when we thought they were going to zag, and that's, to me, that's the mark of a team that knows what they're doing. They have a plan. They're not just throwing darts.
They're to that plan.
They're not just drafting freely. Like, well, we have 2 first-round picks, so if we want to, we can burn one of these, or if we waste it, we don't. And so if you look at that, Jalen there, and then Javon Holland, safety, 35th overall. So again, this was Miami's last draft, and now the rebuild is complete. They've broken in the front door, the win now door, and they're here, and they're up to competing now, and they're going to make noise in the AFC East here. And I like it. I like what Miami's doing. I like what they're going to do. The one problem, the one qualm that I have is, Ryan Fitzpatrick is gone, so maybe that will help here. But you have to let Tua play. You can't let him. Well, we're going to let Tua start the first quarter and the third quarter, and we're going to bring in another. You can't. That absolutely demolishes a young quarterback's confidence and his mojo. You have to give the kid the keys, and you have to let him go. And this coming season, they will absolutely do that. They don't have any other options at quarterback to do that. They're not going to bring in Josh Rosen, but I don't even think Rosen is there anymore. It might be in Tampa Bay or something, but Miami is going to make a push here. They're ready to win now after all these selections, back-to-back, seasons, 3 seasons in a row. They've had a ton of draft picks, and they've done this on purpose. They had a plan, and they've solidified it. They did what they were supposed to do, and bam, here we are, May 6th at, 10 p.m. Eastern. Miami is going for it. I respect what they did. I think that's the right way to build a professional franchise, just like Washington did. I can't say enough good things about them, but that's the right way to draft. If you look at, only thing I know is, the Detroit Lions, how many times did they have a top 5 selection in 3 or 4 seasons or 5 seasons in a row? And they always drafted a wide receiver, within the top 3-4 seasons in a row. It didn't get you anywhere. You wasted all that time. You wasted all this nonsense here, and it got you nowhere. So I like what Miami's doing. They didn't spend it on frivolous things. They didn't draft, shiny objects. They saw they needed this, they needed that, and they went for it. So Miami is going to be very exciting this season. And as Jay Greeter 20 says, you gotta let the kid play. Win or lose, and everything is a learning experience if you have the right mindset. So if he gets sacked 15 times in a game, throws 3 interceptions, fumbles a couple times, oh well, it's part of the learning curve, the learning process for him. And I would expect Tua to be in the starting huddle, getting QB1 reps the next day at practice. Let the kid go.
So Tua, they're going to let. I truly believe that they basically said, "Hey, you're our guy." They made some moves there, and they got him just like Cincinnati did with Burrow. They got him his teammate in Jalen Waddle, who arguably is
as good. But, in a team like LSU, even Clemson, Ohio State, happens all the time. You have such an immense talent, bigger than the sun, and it completely drowns out everything else you're doing. Jalen Waddle, if Jamar Chase wasn't in this draft, Jalen Waddle would be the wide receiver 1 that we're talking about.
Well, he went number 2. So, yeah. All right. So Tua is going to have Waddle now. He's going to have Devontae Parker.
Myles Gaskins dodged a huge bullet, so that just tells me that they're all in on Gaskins. Let's see what you can got. The kid can run, the kid can catch. Malcolm Brown, they did grab Malcolm Brown from the Rams, but that's a nice little talent. And one kid I want to mention, I had no idea who this kid was until about a month or 2 ago. Jared Dokes. People are talking about him, and I just want you to write that name down, highlight it, and just do me a favor. You don't have to draft him. Just write Jared Dokes' name down and look into him, and then you can make the decision for yourself. An undrafted free agent, he's going undrafted in rookie ads, so you can get him for nothing. You can get him for $1 once waivers clear. Do me a favor, do that, and we'll see what we got.
Yep, and that would be GERRID DOAKS. Go get him. Cincinnati running back. Stash. He's a stash, right?
Absolutely. We'll see what we got.
You get him for nothing. He's a free agent pickup after the rookie draft.
And again, I real quick, I have to say, people are talking about Gaskins. It's always negative, like, oh, Gaskins is going to lose big time if they draft another running back. And then when they didn't, Gaskins dodged a really big bullet. But for real life purposes, this is good for Miami. They didn't spend anything on another running back. They're going to let Gaskins do his thing. They obviously saw enough in him last season where they're okay letting him be your RB1. And if he doesn't work out, oh, well, that's fine. You got nothing invested in the guy, and it's not going to hurt or help you if he flames out. You'll be able to revisit the position in free agency this coming, next offseason or in the draft next year. So that's the way to build a franchise here. Let's say, what if Miami drafted a running back? They drafted Najee Harris, a 6th overall. If he busts, you're effed. You're effed for quite some time because you burned a very high selection. Even 18th overall, if they would have drafted a running back who busts, you're losing draft capital and you're losing time, and that's, you don't have a lot of it in the NFL. So kudos to Miami, and I'm all in on Gaskins this coming season.
I am too, man. I've got him in a couple of leagues, and I'll be honest, I sweated some bullets, during the draft, wondering what they were going to do. But you know what? He showed out well. He showed good hands. He showed good vision, and I believe they believe, and that's a really good thing. Okay, so New England Patriots.
Yes,
Bill going to be Bill, and he did it. And he sat there. He didn't move up. He doesn't do that. He doesn't play that game. And next thing you know, normally he's moving out, right? Moving out of picks.
Correct.
Mac Jones fell right in his lap. Mac Jones, Bill Belichick, this, has a really good relationship with Nick Saban. And he likes those Alabama players. It's a factory for him. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on Mac Jones in Bill Belichick's system? I think here's what I like about it. I was talking to somebody on the phone earlier. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Jay Grider this morning. And he's going back to that. He went out and got Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah,
both those guys, reminiscent of Hernandez and Gronk. And he is going to set his quarterback up with big, athletic targets that know how to get open and know how to move with the ball. And I think it's pretty exciting because I think Mac Jones has a chance to make an impact. I'm not sitting there saying he's going to be Burrow or even Trevor Lawrence or none of those guys, but I think he can be a serviceable NFL quarterback in that system. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, 100%. And so Mac Jones, I also, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm alone on an island here, but I loved the selection of Ramondre Stevenson there at running back. So your first reaction is,
I was going to bring him up too. Yeah.
Well, Damian Harris, I added Harris. I traded for Harris before the draft, and that's fine. But Ramondre Stevenson is going to be in the mix for targets and touches. People keep saying, New England is kind of a wasteland at running back. Damian Harrison, James White, Sony Michel, J.J. Taylor, but Ramondre Stevenson.
They do spread them out.
Yeah, and again, it's the New England running backs have never been, New England hasn't been a hotbed of fantasy football running backs. One week it's Sony Michel getting 3 touchdowns. The next week it's James White, Burkhead, all these guys. But Ramondre Stevenson in that rotation, I love it. I love the idea. I think he was a Sooner, Oklahoma Sooner.
Yep.
Kid runs hard. He's tough, hard-nosed. He's bigger than most running backs. I believe he's 6'1", something like that, 212, 215. He is my personal, prototypical running back. If I could go to a lab and make one, it would be 6'1", 215, 220. Just knock your teeth out, mangle your face mask here. But the question that was posed to me was Mac Jones. So they, before the draft, like a month or two before the draft, they gave Cam Newton another contract, just a 1-year contract. I believe it was, what was it, 10 million, 11 million. And if we take what we saw last season from Cam Newton, it was awful. He was short hopping players. He just couldn't get it done. So, you know, the 1-year deal is a good move for a football franchise. If it doesn't work out, if they feel they need to put in Mac Jones in week 6 or 7 and not give it back to Cam, it's whatever. They're not out a ton of money here. And I firmly do believe that Cam Newton will be their starting quarterback for the length of this coming season. He's a gamer. He works hard, dresses weird, tweets and funny letters, but on the football field, Cam Newton is still a professional quarterback. And I'm almost positive he's spending all this time working harder, you know, strengthening what needs to be strengthened, because he had nowhere to go. He was just out in the world waiting to be signed. So I would imagine he wasn't doing much work. He wasn't reading plays. You know what I mean? So now, you're going in year 2 in New England. Cam Newton is going to be their starting quarterback, and that's fine. That is fine. Let Mac Jones sit there, learn, maybe get some reps here and there, garbage time, who knows? But long-term, Mac Jones is their quarterback. Cam Newton isn't going to be starting for them in 2-3 years. Absolutely not. It's going to be Mac Jones, and I love him. And if you look in Superflex, mock drafts, people are forgetting about Mac Jones. I saw him in a Superflex league go at like 109, or even I think I saw him go at round 2, pick 3. I mean, that's crazy. If you're playing dynasty football and real life football, you have to be patient. We all want right now, gimme. And Mac Jones isn't going to give that to you this season, and that's fine. If you want to add him in a trade first few months of the season, that's fine. You'll be able to grab Mac Jones, and I'd be very proud to have Mac Jones on my dynasty roster.
I agree with that, and I just saw him today go in the second round in a Superflex dynasty league, in our Masters league. And I was actually really surprised to see him.
Crazy.
I will say this: Cam Newton will be the starter in New England, but if he has some games, if he rattles off 3 in a row like he did last year, 6, 7, and 8, and he's not showing any effectiveness, I think there is a chance, like what we're seeing in the last few years, they're getting these quarterbacks in and these rookies in.
Correct.
Rookies are more ready to play now than they were 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Absolutely.
And so I can see Mac Jones finishing the season kind of like what's been happening in some of these other teams. Interesting. Cam Newton is Cam Newton, but he has not looked like Cam Newton in last year. He struggled. And so maybe he'll get it together. Maybe he won't. I don't know. I know everybody's going to be soon. He's going to have unfair pressure on him because people are going to be ready for. They just want the new shiny object, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's
Bill doesn't feed into that.
I know it doesn't matter to him, but I do think that it's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch, pay a lot of attention to. And I'm glad you brought up Ramondre Stevenson. I think he could actually be a factor in that backfield as well, because I think something's going to shake out there. I think there's going to be some shake up in that running back room before the season even starts.
I could see a case where, and again, something that comes out of left field where Sony Michel is released or cut, something along those lines. I wouldn't be shocked.
I agree with that. I totally do.
And one more thing I want to mention about New England, go do yourself a favor and go add Jacoby Myers. I mean, this kid last year, there was certain games where he commanded a 30 to 35% target share in a stretch of games, 4 or 5 games. I mean, he looked to be the only wide receiver on the field for New England. And do I see that changing a little bit this coming season? Yeah, that's unsustainable. But they grabbed Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. Do me a favor, Jacoby Myers you can get him for nothing, a 3rd, 4th round pick. Just do it. Keep him on your bench. He's a nice depth piece just in case.
All right, we're going to get to a team. And by the way, good comment there. We're going to get to a team that I am really impressed with their draft. This is not indicative of what they've done for the last 5 years. The Jets and deservedly are getting the A grades. I like what they did through the first 5 rounds, and believe me, I mean, we have 2 first rounders, a 2nd and 3rd, and you had 3 5ths and 3 6ths. I mean, they had a lot of options, but Zach Wilson followed more impressively is, I think, Vera Tucker and then Elijah Moore. And then they round up with Michael Carter and Jamian Sherwood, the safety from Auburn.
Awesome.
And then they get Michael Carter from Duke, the cornerback, and I'm like, wow. And then you look at what they did in the offseason by bringing in Corey Davis and some other components. I can't help but think the Jets are going to actually be improved this year. What are your thoughts on the Jets, man?
I agree with you 100%. And I've said this a bunch, not only on your broadcast, but other shows and tweets and stuff. The NFL is just better when there's certain teams that are good. Cincinnati, the Lions, and the Jets. When the Jets are good, I just find the NFL to be more fun. Maybe it's just because, it's something different. We get tired of New England winning a Super Bowl all the time. And I'm sure we're going to be, tired of Kansas City battling Buffalo. It's going to be some damn good football, damn good TV, but the Jets are very much improved. I loved that Zach Wilson, again, personally, from a football perspective, from being a quarterback, kid has everything it takes. But for him to go to New York in this market, I don't think he has what it takes to hack it. He's going to be eaten alive in that market. From BYU, he's of privilege. His uncle is a billionaire, owns JetBlue and all that. He's never wanted for anything. And the only reason I say that is because, kids and guys that have been down and out, that they've had something happen to them and they had to really look at themselves and say, I need to completely change. I need a complete overhaul from start to finish. Those guys they're not only book smart, but they're street smart. Those people are dangerous. So, Zach Wilson, I don't know. You can't firmly say what's going to happen, but he's going to have to grow up instantly. He's in for a rude awakening. If you see those memes or those photos where he was with the other first round talent and they're all doing this and stuff, he was looking around for help. He's like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? But taking all that aside, from a football perspective, this kid is going to make this team better. I love that they drafted Elijah Moore, 34th overall in the second round. Unbelievable to go with Mims and Davis. Crowder is probably going to be, out somewhere else, and that's fine. But Mims, Davis, and Elijah, if you can get Elijah where he needs to be in certain sets, in screens and whatever, reverses, things along that, he's going to be unbelievable. We saw what he did in his pro day. He's fast. His routes are so crisp. He can cut on a dime. And then, they grabbed left guard Elijah Vera Tucker, which looked to be a steal where they got him. That was unbelievable here. And again, I just want to throw this out there. The Jets did more for Zach Wilson in the first 2 days of the draft than they did to Sam Darnold in how many seasons. They completely left Darnold out to dry in his length, in the duration of his Jets there. But, Sam Darnold is off for greener pastures. He's doing something else here. But for the Jets, they're going to be competitive, and it's going to be fun to watch because, as you know, I'm a big IDP guy. I love watching defenses, and, their defense now, lest we forget, Quinnen Williams, their defensive tackle, they drafted him, what was he, second or third overall last season. He's going to come into his own. Sheldon Rankings, Blake Cashman is going to be fine, inside linebacker. Rashad Davis, the Lions signed there. And if you know anything about the Lions, the Lions,
Mekhi Becton too.
Yeah, the Lions draft these second round linebackers, and they just bums in Detroit, and then they go on and they start in Super Bowls, i.e. Kyle Van Noy, or things like that. So crazier things have happened. The Jets are going to be fun to watch. They're going to win. They're going to win more than 2 or 3 games. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And when you think about that division with Buffalo, Miami, and New England, I think that division is going to be significantly improved. And so, last year Buffalo didn't have too much of a challenge. I think Miami gave them a little bit of a push, but that was it. But yeah, I think I like what the Jets did. I think you're right. They're going to win more than 2 games, 3 games. I could see them winning 5 or 6 games potentially. It depends on how fast they can grow. I mean, they're still in the AFC. It's tough sledding over there.
Absolutely. And to me personally, aside from the NFC West with Arizona, the Rams, San Francisco, and Seattle, to me, the AFC East is probably one of the more exciting divisions that I intend to watch and pay attention to this season. Because the NFC North is a given, but the NFC West and now the AFC East looks to be exciting and competitive. It's not going to be one-sided.
What's interesting is Sunday night, the NFC show, as we were going through it, and just maybe it's me, maybe it's my guest, I don't know, but we went through the NFC and we're down to 2 teams left, and we had more C, D, and a few more F teams in the NFC, and I haven't had but two F teams in the entire AFC, and we got 2 teams left. It seems like the AFC on paper. Now, we don't know how it all is going to pan out, but on paper, it seems like they had a lot better drafting, and maybe that's why the AFC's been so good. I don't know. I don't know. It's just something I noted. And
we always, like week 10, week 12, or when the playoffs are right on the cusp here, we always say it's always the same teams and whatever, and there's always one, let's say, that comes out of nowhere, and we didn't see it happening. But right now, the draft last weekend, and right now, this is where the work goes in for the changing of the guard for these teams that have been down and out for so long, for them to come up, and it takes 3-4 years, something like that. But boom, when they arrive, and everybody's looking around going, well, when did the Jets get good? Or when did Cincinnati get good, right? All that work, all the groundwork for the changing of the guard is being laid right now. We're always riding these waves of up and down and all this nonsense. So, just keep that in the back of your mind, that the changing of the guard is happening right now in front of us. We have to just, be of sound mind to recognize that. And again, I think that the Jets are finally onto something here. Their first draft with their new, regime, Salahi as head coach, local guy to where I am. He's in Dearborn, probably 45 minutes from where I sit right now. So all these new teams, Brad Holmes and Campbell in Detroit. So all these historically down and out teams, these teams that they're awful in drafting, had very good drafts. So that is a sign of the times, and things are changing.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you. I love that. All right. We get down to two teams left. We're going to go straight to Pittsburgh. This is one of those teams where I really like Najee Harris. I love the pick.
Oh, yeah.
And I, as a matter of fact, I thought he was going to go there. I talked about it before the draft. And then they added Pat Freiermuth. And I'm not sure why they didn't have to have that guy. I mean, they still got contract another year after this one. And so, but other than that, I was not impressed. But I love Najee Harris there. What are your thoughts on the Steelers draft?
Yeah, the Steelers, again, another team who is really good already. If you remember correctly, I believe, remember when at week 10, I said they're not going to win again after their first
That's
loss.
That's right, you did.
They're not going to win again for the rest of the season. I think they won one game out of the last
1 or 2,
5 or 6. And then they got, Cleveland, bent them over and whipped them bare-assed in the playoffs. But, so Pittsburgh, they're always pretty, they're always good with their coaching and the way they have the players come in and out. And again, Pittsburgh is going to be very good this coming season. They're going to win, more than 10 games, might 12 or 13 again, but can they get the job done in the playoffs? It's like a lifetime away here. But Najee Harris at the end of the first round was unbelievable. We all saw that coming. As soon as they let James Conner go, they were going to draft a running back here, and Najee Harris is going to see an absolutely ton of work. He might be the only running back to see carries on a week-to-week basis for Pittsburgh, because as you know, they're absolutely loaded with young stud wide receiver talent, Juju, Claypool, Deontay. So in terms of an offensive skill position standpoint, they rank among one of the better teams in the NFL. If you look at what they did on the defense, I don't have the stats in front of me, but they added a ton. They added 6 new members of the secondary: Quincy Roche, Trey Norwood, Mark Gilbert, Lamont Wade, Donovan Steiner, and Shakur Brown. So, you got to think of all 7 of those kids. 1, maybe 2 of them will pan out and be fantastic to an already, I don't want to say their defense is shaky, that they can play well. They got Watt, Watt and Bush and Tuitt. I mean, Terrell Edmonds, Mika Fitzpatrick. So their defense on paper is, I let me take that back. Their defense is fantastic. So another team that addressed kind of their secondary options. We need some depth pieces. None of these rookies, aside from Najee Harris, is already their newly minted one over. Like, they didn't draft a kid that's going to be their RB1 or LB1 or their safety one, something like that. So they're hoping in the later rounds of the draft, one or two of these, the defensive talents pan out. And you got to think, given what Tomlin does and that ownership, more than one of these kids on the defense is going to pan out. So I love what they did.
Yeah, considering that they won't have Mike Hilton or Steve Nelson, and of course Hayden is 32 and he's playing out his final year. They had to address some things like that. I get it. I get that completely. But Pittsburgh finds a way, and but you know what? Cleveland's not the same. Cincinnati's not the same. And Baltimore, you know what they're doing. And so Pittsburgh's going to have to see a significant improvement. The biggest shock for me now, I know they picked up an offensive lineman, and then they also got Kendrick Green and, of course, offensive tackle Dan Moore.
Yeah.
So they're doing what they can to improve there. But I think if they would have taken an offensive tackle at that second-round pick instead of Freiermuth, I think they would have a little bit better draft grade from me. I still give them a B-, but I'm anxious to see what they do, and I'm anxious to see how long Ben can stay up. I mean, how long can that guy keep going, Big Ben?
Yeah, he's scared. He's scared. How can I put this? It's scary to me. If I was a Pittsburgh fan, I'd be scared that Ben Roethlisberger is my quarterback. But in turn, I'm also bummed out there. He's a shell of himself. I was shocked that he didn't retire. At this point, there's little to no mobility. He's just standing in there, kind of, trying to make something happen. Long gone are the days of Ben Roethlisberger, on 3rd and 8, really moving the chains with
or dragging 3 players.
Yeah, that's long gone. So, I would have liked to see, Pittsburgh maybe draft one of those at the end of the second round when we had a quarterback run there, Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask, and try and work out one of these kids as an heir apparent, hopefully, because when Ben Roethlisberger is done, they're going to be left holding their hat. They don't have, they don't have the next guy or next kid to stand up and be their quarterback. So, again, who am I to tell, Pittsburgh that they didn't draft well because they didn't draft a quarterback here? But Ben Roethlisberger, as your quarterback, scares me. He's kind of just, he's just there nowadays. He's standing there, one hit could be done. He'd be done. He's out. If there's any, God forbid, if he rolls his ankle or hyperextends his knee, I think that's it. He's done. He doesn't have, a long rehab for his knee or his ankle left in him. That'd be done and over with. And you'd hate to see someone like him go out that way, not on his own terms, go out because of an injury or, he gets a hard hit, a concussion. It's going to take him, he could be one of those guys after a concussion. He's on the IR for 4 or 5 weeks because he just can't recover because of his age and the wear and tear on his body here. So again, I wish Ben Roethlisberger the best. He's been, fantastic to watch. And I feel like I don't want this to think like I'm eulogizing Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is not dead. He's alive and well, but I'm just kind of, scared for what will be this coming season with Ben.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and the fact that he took a huge pay cut to potentially get demolished like that is going to be. He may get tired of that by week 9.
And who they got? Mason Rudolph to come in.
Yeah, they sure don't have Cordell Stewart anymore. No. Mason Rudolph is just. I don't know, man. Yeah, they got some stuff to do. All right, before I even talk about the number 1 pick for the Titans, I'm just going to remind everyone that Tennessee lost all 3, Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, and Desmond King in the backfield. And they took Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. Now, I'm going to say this. Caleb Farley is a bad man. He is a true lockdown, shutdown cornerback. He can be on an island and be happy. The problem is he is not durable. He's had some serious injuries, including 2 back surgeries. Tennessee has gambled with these types of players and won. And they're on to something the way they're doing this because they're getting immense value way later than it typically would be in taking those risks and making sure their doctors believe that those players are going to pay off. I love the Caleb Farley pick. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and you said he had 3 back surgeries, I believe.
Two of them, yeah.
Two. Well, I believe he was scheduled to have a third one like a week or two after the draft. So if you look it up, I think Caleb Farley recently, within the last few weeks, has had another back surgery to kind of, alleviate something. And again, back surgeries, you show me a person that's had one and done back surgery, I'll call you a liar. One back surgery turns into 3, turns into 6. Back surgeries are an ongoing thing. So it's a bummer that at such a young age he's had that done. But again, at where he was drafted, you can't really fault what they did. If you looked at everything that came about with these rookie cornerbacks, as I said, J.C. Horn, Surtain, Caleb Farley was, by all intents and purposes, CB1, but there was this injury history, which was his biggest knock. So to get him, I've always loved Kevin Byard. He's going to be fantastic, a stud IDP, safety to have. Let's not forget Elijah Molden was drafted there he's a strong safety. And right now, again, I'm not saying much. He's second on the depth chart at strong safety, but Indianapolis is another exciting team, and I know that's your hometown team. You love them, so I'm not going to talk too much on what Indianapolis is going to do or what they did in the draft. They didn't really. You're probably going to just murder me for this, but realistically, on offense, they didn't need too much. It's not like Indianapolis on the offense was 1 or 2 players away from being very competitive, from being Studley. Taylor Lewan, ex-Michigan, ex-Michigan guy, ex-Lions guy is there, Ben Jones, all these guys. They're going to be fine. And if Carson Wentz, I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, if Wentz can, get out of his own way, get that confidence back, shake off them yips, they're going to be very good. I'm excited to see what they do. Yeah.
Well, so I do want to talk about Dylan Raduns because he's the only other pick I really, really, really like because I'm a little disappointed. Yeah. Did you realize that he had a torn ACL in 2017. He came back strong though because he only allowed 24 pressures on 715 career pass blocking snaps. And that's just amazing. And so I know that's North Dakota State, but he has
still football.
Hey, he's 6 foot, 300 pounds, 6'6", 300 pounds, and he can move. And so I think that's actually could be potentially the best pick for them to get him at pick 53 in the second round. I think they were just cheering. But I'm not thrilled with Weaver. I'm not thrilled with Dez Fitzpatrick. I'm not thrilled with Racey McMath, even though he could be a sneaky play because he's an LSU receiver. But overall, I think they did okay. I wish it could have been better. I was hoping it would be better. If Farley and Raduns work out, I'll be happy. But
realistically, David, you have Derrick Henry and AJ Brown. You have the trio of AJB, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill. So if you can keep that little nucleus together, everything else around those 3 guys doing what they do alleviates a lot of pressure. Those 3 guys together, they cover up a lot of holes or bad decisions made by the coaching staff. And to me personally, AJ Brown is my dynasty wide receiver 1. He is unbelievably fantastic.
But last year he had Corey Davis, who had a really good breakout year, and they also had Jonnu Smith, and they lost both those guys. Who's going to keep AJ Brown honest?
Well, Josh, I love the addition of Josh Reynolds from the Rams. Not too many people have talked about him.
About that. That's a good call.
As a sneaky sleeper player, he's going to be fantastic in DFS formats this coming season. So to me, I love Josh Reynolds as the team's wide receiver too. And again, as I said, with Derrick Henry getting the ball 25 times a game, with AJ Brown, commanding, 13, 14, 15 targets in a game, not too much is going to be expected of Josh Reynolds. And I think he could settle in to that role very well. He's going to be an unbelievably good wide receiver too from that team based on what they need from him.
That's a great reminder, and I'm glad you brought that up because I do believe he's a very talented receiver, and he showed really good flashes in LA. And you know what? If Corey Davis can do what Corey Davis did last year, Josh Reynolds definitely has that capability. And so AJ Brown, is going to pull all the coverage and the doubles. And so, yeah, that's a great call, man. Thanks for bringing that up.
And it's time for Josh Reynolds. He was kind of
he's got a shot. Yeah, he's not in Robert Woods in
Cooper Kupp shadow. He's and he can get the job done. So I firmly believe I'm targeting Reynolds in any and all drafts that I'm in. I firmly believe he blossoms and flourishes into a very good wide receiver too immediately.
Well, man, we just went through all of them, and let me tell you something. You brought the heat, man. You really brought the heat, man. I'm so grateful that you came on this show. You were amazing, and I just wanted to thank you again. And I look forward to having you on more often, and I look forward to this season doing some bottom of the barrel stuff, man.
We're gonna do a lot of it.
But once again, I always know that when you come on the show, you're going to be prepared. You're going to be sharp, and you're going to have your shit together, and you delivered again. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate you.
This was long overdue. I mean, we broadcasted and worked together 2-3 times a week during the season, and we still keep in touch. It's not like we're strangers or we hate each other, but this needs to happen more often. I've told you this a million times in confidence, just in personal phone calls between us or in text messages between us. But I mean it. I always have time for you, and I told you this in day one, and I'll tell you this again. If you're in a pinch, David, I need 5-10 minutes heads up, and I'm there for you.
I know it, man, and I appreciate that, and I feel the same way, Chris. I appreciate you. We're gonna do we got this in an hour and a half. That's not bad, not bad. Imagine if the show was trying to do both conferences, we would be worn out.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks again. I'll be in touch with you after the show. I've got some other ideas I want to share with you, and we'll talk later this week, brother.
You got it, my friend. I'll talk to you.
All right. Hey, for everybody watching, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Please feel free to give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe to the channel. Let everybody know about the channel. Let us know what we can do to be better on the show. Let us know what you want to hear, what you want to see. We love bringing you content, but if we're not giving you what you want, tell us. We're going to work whatever. We're here for you. So it means a lot to us, and we'll look for you into our DMs. Peace out, everyone.